Aloha, my friends and family. And today I'm going to talk about how existing in a prison is suffering, yet true life is in a joyful balance. You know, the day frames in the night refines the day. You tried to run, you tried to hide. It's going to take a whole lot of balance and gnosis on the other side. When you're stuck in existence, for whatever reason you give, if you're doing time in a prison, or if you're married to the wrong person and you got the ball and chain, or you're in a psychological prison cell, or you're a so-called wage slave, or controlled by the property tax, it makes the saying of the Buddhists to be obviously true, that existence is suffering. If you are in any kind of prison system, truly you are suffering. Yet true life is always in a balance, often of joy and pain. Many people, especially atheists, might wonder, if there is a God, why is there so much suffering, wars, slavery, ritual abuse, bloody child sacrifices, child abuse, and seemingly perpetual suffering? Because as the Buddha said, that is the unawakened state. But I'm afraid Prince Siddhartha, by running away and getting enlightened under the Bodhi tree and giving up the roles of being a paternal biological father, he might have had to reincarnate in the next lifetime to do that if he wasn't done with it. Larkin Rose does a lot of great videos and jobs and explaining the way that this has happened to humanity in his stories about the plantation and his videos. He has a video called Slave Think. And if this is a divine globe of free will, why are good people suffering perpetually in the abuse, slavery, and memory wipe death loop ad infinitum? Well, the short answer is, of course, it is a vicious vampiric god, junior god, who set up the Matrix, and through wars and bloody coercion hid or tricked humans into giving up their free will in a tragically successful fake informed consent, just like what happened in 2020. In many circumstances in the year 2020, we had the most overt, obvious examples of fake informed consent. Well, that's just the greatest trick that the dark side have ever pulled on the whole planet. I mean, they had to build up gradually to that great trick. But the main thing, obviously, as my friend Teresa Correggio pointed out in her book, the main way that they've gotten their money is through the mortgage scam and consent to the box slave system in general. It didn't help to have this hexagram on the end of the planet Saturn that could beam us into this thought that all that matters is putting food on the table and paying, taking care of your box. How could life be freed from being stuck in the doom loop of suffering in a miserable matrix beast survival mode? And my sibling asked me, how could I possibly think that I could help others if I haven't been paying my property tax or my mortgage or my rent all these years myself? Do we need to meditate under a tree, renounce, quit, rebel, become a tyrant player, narcissist, or a greedy, taking, dependent, fake disabled person? No, ironically, the real answer will never come from the external world. Yet, the only way out of the crazy imbalance that the majority of humans seem to be in right now is to go into your true self. For the answer is always within. If you have the courage and the meditation skills and the discernment, determine your blueprint and what you want to share, the work you want to do, and your passion to help others. Bring forth the actions and the energy of true holistic balance from within. Ideally, bring forth the actions and the energy of true holistic balance in the outer world. One of the first times as a youngster, I got the notion that maybe I didn't have to be stuck in this loop, in this doom loop financially. Was my dad loved to take me to movies. He directed and starred in plays, but often they'd be fairly good movies. So he took me to see the movie Erin Brockovich, and I can't remember what corporation she was suing, but I thought it was a wonderful movie because she plays the lawyer that gets a huge settlement from the horrible damage some of these corporations have done. And I remember in the movie, her boyfriend was a carpenter, and he basically said that he would work a job as a carpentry job and make so many thousands of dollars that he didn't have to, work every week, all 7 or 5 days a week. And it struck in my subconscious that even if I was a carpenter, I could possibly figure out how to not be slaving away all the time. Of course, he had a very low rent in that spot, or low tax. First, you must really be willing, of course, to allow gnosis into your heart. Because if you can't allow gnosis, such as the things I teach, which are basically simply the kindergarten and first grade skills of gnosis, if you can't let the basics into your heart even, fat chance. You have to really be willing to allow gnosis into your heart and have the courage to see yourself in the matrix very clearly. Do the shadow work so that you can actually look at yourself and how your behavior and actions and your energies are contributing. And Osho said, when you become enlightened, you won't be a renunciate. Although he encouraged his followers to renounce. He said that you have to bring it to the market, bring it back to the world. And, of course, this is often 96% of the time in someone's life, the greatest challenge is to bring the light and bring the goodness back into the world. Then take these meditational actions, ideally within harmless discernment, into the outer world without participating in the loose feeding frenzy. Okay? That's the ideal goal if you have the courage and discernment to do so, folks. Consider how a healthy human baby is born if the parents are respectful and have true love. Consider four-leggeds also. Most four-legged critters, mammals, their mommy plops them out, and they can walk the first day, right? Maybe somewhere around the first day, right? But we humans must crawl like worms, fat little worms. We must crawl a long time. Similarly, when it comes to awakening, I can tell you the truth about slavery, but it may take you many moons for you to get it through to your thick skull that I'm not just, making silly stories or telling you crazy analogies. Having been downgraded, hybridized, and trauma bonded to Lucifer and his sick plans for many millennia, our race seems to have massive Stockholm syndrome. Not just that one race, as Cliff High says, but the majority of all the different races, including just the entire human family. So we have to face that, especially this year, if we want to survive. Our race seems to have massive Stockholm syndrome and millions of years of dark brotherhood controlling us through wars, religion, and mainstream media. It seems that existence truly is suffering. The common Buddhist idea of renunciation is not the answer, though, okay? At least not for most people. It is escapism. So, just like religions, just like all my bloodkins who were off at church singing songs to these gods in the sky and ignore my teachings, just like religions, people try to hide in renunciation. Okay? Been there, and it leads to a deeper soul imprisonment. I was a self-help bookworm hermit for years, and that's just not, at a certain point, unless I'm sharing the wisdom like this, it's not helping. Okay? Refusal to live or feel is what sometimes can happen if you get stuck in your shell for a long time. You say, I will not suffer. Well, the keys are gnosis and then implement. Okay? Implement balance in life. Okay? Of course I don't have it myself. I've taken steps towards it. It's, the dark ones did a magnificent job of programming most of us out of balance. Okay? Spend enough duration of your strong in meditation and nature to see, work, and play. To see that work and play are both essential. Yet all of life is ultimately, if it is a real life, not a vampiric matrix, all of life is a balance. Compare a Santa Cruz, California wage slave to a fruit or ganja tree with a loving attendant farmer. Probably there's hundreds of them in that county. So maybe some of you are both those things, The cultivator must water, fertilize. If they're smart, bring the positive energy to the trees, like in The Secret Life of Plants. It says that affects it positively. Or Dr. Emoto's work. And of course, perhaps on harvest season, work their ass off. But it is not slavery. If you take away the taxes and rent and property tax, and if they work properly, the farmer's end result at harvest season, is abundance, right? 1% criminals or greedy landlords, for example, live off you or siphon and pilfer your abundance, causing an imbalance. A workaholic or a lazy dependent or self-imposed victim of socialism or the matrix might work all the time and have no fun, or play all the time, play all their lives and never work and just be dependent punks. Whether it's because of wealth or the system, remaining stuck in dependency. A renunciate might think meditating is all they need to do. Well, guess what? All of these are way off balance, obviously. Welcome to spiritual first grade. Compare these very varied follies to your loving, diligent farmer and see why most ensouled human beings that are real human beings, the few who have found this, what I'm trying to preach here, who have moved, and see why, feel what that energy is like in your imagination first. And now can you see why most ensouled human beings will probably have to move into intentional communities where they cannot hide their imbalances and narcissism and their holes. My studies and research have shown me that most intentional communities require or force you an average of 2 or 3 hours of work a day. Compare that to, somebody who poor on the coast of California, or, for example, in that being culturally controlled perhaps by that same entities of that region, the Mount Madonna School, a Hindu intentional school community in Santa Cruz County where they keep up with everything you do every hour of the day and maybe leave you a half hour of free time and don't allow you to smoke cannabis, for example, or do anything else. That's a lot closer to slavery, actually, than most intentional communities, but it's there. So if you see any intentional communities in Santa Cruz County, they'll get away with as much tyranny as you would never be able to get away with in other states and provinces, and they'll push it as close to that archetype of tyrants as they can. Most Libras on the other extreme archetype from the Aries, most Libras with the zodiac sign Libra in their birth chart must rise from being either blind, socialistic blind judges, or more often than that, codependents who work their ass off to take care of everyone in the community or everyone in their family. They need to focus on the part of their archetype that is balance, not the judge with the blind on and the scales, but come to balance. Because that's the only way that majority of your Libras are off balance, because they serve everyone else more than their own self. And so my prayer to them is to come more to balance. I may have been a good scholar and a decent teacher, but I'm still going to have to learn how to balance just as well. This service is part of how I'm attempting to do that. What would or will your work and play be, say, if the black magic money machine matrix is gone, which it may just soon be, or maybe they say you have to be a digital slave or you will have no money? How will you serve? How will you get your food? How will you take care of your lodgings and family after that? Put some comments if you want to respond. Todd says, how can you make videos if you can't take care of yourself? Well, it's because I was born again. I remember I said this in a few other of these transmissions, but this butch lesbian who was a very nice, good-natured young woman who I met because she was a bud tender at the Creekside Collective, Kelly, had her arm around her girlfriend one day. I saw her walking up the street and she said, "Take care of yourself." So I said, yes, take care of the self. So when you have an awakening experience, or whether you're mildly born again, truly born again, or it's somewhat halfway enlightened, you realize that, it's all yourself, for real. It's not a joke. It's not a Bob Marley song. It is all the self. Life requires gnosis, a lot of gnosis, hard work at times, and serious discipline if you want to accomplish anything, and real serious play. It is literally a dance to begin and thrive on earth. If you can stand and walk and still do it, you might have to actually physically dance to be alive. At least from my perspective, 100%. They say when a woman has a child, the mothers go into labor and often have birth pains. Ask yourself, what is the difference between true, balanced work and play and financial slavery? Even if I've been, an amateur or a busker, I've experienced it a tiny bit, and I would say, working musicians may be the most privileged and intelligent as far as works goes that I can think of, because it's so fun. If you're doing a good job, you're really having a lot of fun playing and making money through your discipline as well, though, you see. So eventually we all must learn or remember we each must reclaim the balance of proper work and play, not just simply slavery for a box or narcissistic abuse cycles and putting up with it and go along to get along with the vampiric loose-feeding psycho playtime. Awakening, as always, is an inside job. Can you find the balance there? Or is this simply the therapeutic church of Narcissists Anonymous, electronic Wi-Fi service to all the people who are off balance and open-minded? I've been wanting to make this video probably for a year. You know, it's just a matter of digging in, really going into the meditation, having put forth over 420 or 440 contributions, somewhere in there, that I feel that I'm approaching the balance more so. So I had more courage to actually publish this. If you enjoyed, make sure that if you haven't already, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, follow me on Odyssey and Rumble, and add your own contribution in the comments section of this video, or record your own videos if you feel moved by the holy, divine, real ghost of goodness, the sacred Christ Sophia within your heart. And, you know, together and individually in our individuation process, in our rescue mission, trying to pull humanity out of the perilous pits of literal psychological and sometimes even burning hell on the surface of this earth, physically burning to death in a hell on the first surface of this earth. If at all possible, enjoy yourselves and find that balance and create a great one, my family.